to today's podcast. We have Prabal from Avail joining us with us today, where it's really exciting to hear his journey, Avail's journey, and future plans. What Avail has to do it. So, welcome to this podcast, Prabal.
Thanks a lot, Pratik, for inviting me.
Awesome. Prabal, let's kickstart with your Web3 journey. What was that aha moment, where you felt, this is something, this sector is a bit passionate and, you want to dedicate your time, into this one?
Yeah, I think I was into cryptography and such very early, from around 2013 or such. I was, dabbling into cryptography as an undergrad and so on and so forth. But I didn't encounter blockchains until around 2016 or such. I mean, at that point in time, I was thinking, what my career choice should be. I essentially worked in machine learning. I did a bit of theoretical computer science during my masters and such. And I joined cryptology and security research as a PhD student. And then I was thinking, within cryptography, what is that field which I can dedicate my 4 or 5 few years of my life at least to. And when I came across blockchains, of course, when I started studying them more rigorously in 2016 and such, I realized that it's a confluence of many different fields, and it is so exciting that you can utilize your knowledge from different fields and still make something so practical, so profound, so user facing. One of the my core inclinations time and again was to be more user facing and to do research which is more impactful and which can touch people's lives, so to say. And it's so hard to do cryptography and to actually get that standardized, to get that utilized and such. I mean, I can go on for a long time, and feel free to cut me off. But if you are into, let's say, you are designing symmetric key cryptography and such, the standardization process is so long that it takes tens of years to take your research and see that in production. For someone like a browser to use your TLS protocol, it has to be not only cutting edge but rigorously tested through time. Blockchains are one particular field where you can use cutting edge crypto research, and you see 6 month, 1 year old papers being productionized and utilized in live products. So that is something that attracted me deeply, as well as the ability to implement not just knowledge on cryptography, but let's say something like a game theory, something like mechanism design, computer architecture, uh, even automata theory and things like that. It was so hard to find one particular field which utilizes so many different ones and sees the confluence of them. So that's mainly why I got attracted towards Web3 and crypto and so on.
Awesome. While like starting out like a new startup, it's like every founder has to go through that journey, whether this particular concept will really fly off, or there are doubts like, will this find PMF, should we have like couple of more ideas to dwell in and stuff, right? So during Avail's journey, I mean, the team was like pretty experienced one. You know exactly where the bets to be done, but there's obviously that uncertainty sort of thing which comes in. So how was the mindset while starting out Avail? And follow-up question to that would be, say for founders who are recently starting up, would you recommend them some playbook so that they know, okay, this is something like a big problem statement to chase around or go like really really deep dive in it?
Yeah, I think I will give very contradictory kind of answers here. So number one is, I think I had it very easy. Whoever is listening, I think that if you are someone who is trying to found a startup, you have a much harder journey than I have. And I've been very privileged, so to say, to be able to get to work on a problem within a bigger company like Polygon. Like just so that people know, Avail started out within Polygon, right? And at that point in time, um, we were highly convinced that this was a problem that needs to be solved. So the conviction was there, but we had the resources, so to say, to at least dabble at the problem, to start with the POCs, to start with the MVPs and such. So we have been pretty privileged in as for that. In terms of when the spin-off happened, I think my fellow co-founder Anurag is Polygon's co-founder. So he of course had a very very strong conviction. I also had a very strong conviction on the problem statement, but he knew more than the tech, right? So he knew the product side of things, he knew the market research side of things, he knew all over different parts of the puzzle. And that's why the different kind of aspects of it made my life very very simple, pretty easy, and hopefully others have similar easy paths as well. But going towards your second question, what is the playbook and what should they do? I will be very honest. Like there are two ways to look at it. If I were to start all over again, I would do two things. Number one is I would study people's playbooks. There are obvious, due diligence steps that people should take. One thing which I particularly was, realized pretty much throughout the journey is that your startup is more than the product. Your startup is more than the tech. Your startup is more than the community. Your startup is more than operations. It is more than whatever you are a master of, right? It doesn't matter. Like sometimes people say like, oh, I am I have done 15 years of research in this field, and now I am creating a product, so I know what to do. Yes, you might, but look at the so-called professor coins, as people talk about, right? I mean, you see like stalwarts of their field trying to launch a product, trying to launch a project, and then the tech may or may not work, but it's always about the tech working and the timing going right, and the token atmospheres being right, and the token launch being right. And there's like so many of things that has to go down together, that it is so much more than what you are capable of. So do study existing playbooks. There is a general kind of journey that every founder has to take. First, they need to believe in their vision, right? What is the vision? They need to write out their vision, because it's communication is key. How you communicate your vision is key. And one of the major bottlenecks that I see with founders is the ability to excite others. Okay? I mean, I think every founder is excited with their own ideas. And very few founders can, fake it, so to say. But it's the next step that is more important. Like, you know it, but can you convince that other person, who can be convinced to an extent where they are now able enough to convince others? And I think people should see something like there's a video called The Dancing Man, which is very inspirational, right? So a guy is, it's like that. You see founders saying the same things again and again with zero engagement on Twitter. They are having to die on a hill. They are having to speak to a vacuum, so to say. And then slowly people start noticing that this guy or this group stands for something. They stand for this particular viewpoint, this particular vision. Then they start coming and rallying around you. Then they start rallying others around you, and so on and so forth. So that's how you create this community. You create this domino effect, so to say, where it's not just you, but you convince others, they convince others, and then this vision becomes a reality. And to be honest, I'm seeing founders whom I closely worked with. They were solo founders or small indie devs who started founding a company, had very much trouble raising money, convincing investors, and so on and so forth. But now they are finally finding PMF, and people are just coming out of their caves and saying, oh, they have been working so well. So that's so good to see. And then finally that will come. So for founders, that's one. So to follow this kind of playbooks and such. But I know I'm speaking for too long, but the second part of it is also to break playbooks. One of the things which very recently this industry has shown is that nothing remains for too long. And if you are following older playbooks, you are going to die, because there is no innovation and the market doesn't just justify following a playbook anymore, right? So although you follow the due diligence, but the novelty has to be there. You cannot just follow footsteps and think that you will figure out the same results and the same outcome. So everyone's journey is unique. You need to show that uniqueness in your product, in your vision, in your community, in your everyday communication, in your whatever artifact that you show you to your investors, to your people from whom you're raising money. The novelty needs to come through and through, and that's what is also very, very important.
Absolutely. Thanks, Prabal. I mean, going towards a length to define this, and I think it will surely help a lot of founders who are in that phase. Prabal, I want to touch a small aspect on Avail's journey so far as well. I think it's been phenomenal. Since you guys started, had amazing fundraise, amazing token launch, and a lot of new initiatives. That are brewing up on that. So as we enter in this year so far, it's been really great in terms of a lot of regulatory, lot of pricing action and stuff, and we're seeing a lot of AI deepen sort of waves coming up over. So how do you structure that? How is Avail positioned in terms of all this new sort of sectors coming up, and how how Avail is embracing all these sort of things, and how is Avail also supporting a lot of founders who are building some crazy sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think so. One of the things which, as Avail, we do is that we are generally providing, infrastructure support to projects who want to accomplish, whatever the vision that they tend to set out to do, right? Like for example, generally with Avail DA, what we had is we will provide abundant scale. If you are a roll up who is trying to position your own chain, you're trying to have your own particular sovereign product as a blockchain, we will support you with abundant scale and all the tooling that is there, right? So that's how we started. And now with Avail Nexus, what we are trying to do is, there are this plethora of chains. You're starting a new project and a new particular app of your choice. How do you connect with other applications throughout blockchain? That has been a fundamental problem inside blockchain space, is that every product feels like its own community, its own walled garden, its own kind of action space, so to say. How can we break those walls? How can we make sure that even if I have funds on Solana, I should still be able to use Uniswap on Ethereum, right? So if that is not possible, then we are not creating this web3, so to say. There is no real interconnectivity, and just explicit bridging and such is so hard for users that it is going to kill the movement that we have been starting, right? So that is the kind of vision with which we have been progressing within Avail. And then there are many other initiatives that we have just to enable these infrastructure for others. Coming to particularly, the different sub movements which we have seen over the recent past. something like a DeepIn, something like an AI project, or RWA tokenization, stable coins, you name it. And all these are being accomplished by our partner projects. So we are lucky enough to have more than 60 plus signed chain partners. We have around 100 plus partners in total across different fields, and each one of them have done a phenomenal job of having focused on their particular application. We have something like Lens, who is doing the social fi experiment. We have a Sophon, which is all about consumer entertainment. We have a Lumia, which is all about RWA. We have Spheron and others who are our deep-in partners, and so on and so forth. So there is a lot of partner projects who are doing their own gig, and we are trying to help them with whatever we can. And in that, we, as I was saying, we are very fortunate to having being able to work with many founders across the space, across different domains, and such. And we try to help them with whatever we can, be that with Avail or without Avail. Like, one of the things which we fundamentally believe is, this is not a zero-sum game. We have actually went ahead and helped people, raise money. We have helped them to connect to other infrastructure providers across the space, to talk to users across the space, to even help with exchanges, tokenization platforms, you name it. Like, whatever we can within our network, and we have been on this journey for a long time, and on the basis of that, we have a few of these connections all across the space. We are happy to open up those connections to partners and non-partners alike, so that they are able to create the best version of the project that they want. So that's roughly what we are doing within Avail for a very long time, and happy to support other founders who are starting out just right now, wanting help or want some direction and such.
Awesome. Thanks, Prabal, for highlighting on the Avail's journey, and also a lot of these initiatives which you are taking to support other smaller ecosystem players and move them ahead. Prabal, I think what Avail has been doing is like pretty, it looks like sort of a tiny statement, but it's really impactful on it's more technically ambitious. And then also on one side, there are a lot of market shifting parameters happening, because there's constantly new set of narratives coming into the market. There's constantly new set of stuff coming up. So how do you keep the balance on both these aspects?
I think, like, to be very honest, like, all these narratives that come, they are extremely impactful in that it shapes people's minds. The only problem is some of them are short-lived. Like, you do not know how long this movement is going to sustain. And if you just go ahead and notice the peak of these movements and number of announcements of people who are saying we are in that, versus when the movement is almost dying, and how many people still remain, that is, we'll see that only the most able and the most coherent ones actually build through it, right? Many people announce it, many people do short-term stunts and so on, but only the true believers actually go and build something and cater to the users and see PMF across that. So one of the things which I would say that we try to follow, and I do not know whether this is a good advice or a bad advice, is to always be convinced on your vision, right? Your vision is more than market sentiment. Your vision needs to be more than what your peers tell you. Your vision is more than what your investors tell you. But also, do not drink your own poison, so to say, right? Which is, you be so drunk in your own idea that you fail to see the non-relevance of it, right? and that is the contradictory statement that is so hard to follow, right? That is so hard to also communicate to a fellow founder is, how do you balance both? When do you know to leave an idea, and when do you know to go through an idea? Right? Timing is of so much essence that uh, you cannot be too early, you cannot be too late. You have to time your entry as well. You have to build products, because at the end of the day, in the short term many things can happen, but in a long enough time horizon, if you have to go through the test of time, you have to have a working product, you have to have a novelty on the technology front, you have to have a strong community backing you up. You need to have a treasury to follow it through, and some real conviction to actually create all of this for you, right? So the for us it has always been, keep whatever the narrative is, you find similar minded people who can be part of your journey, right? Again, privileged enough to be kind of an L1, and with an L1, the things become much easier because you can cater to all kinds of narratives, right? If you're an AI agent, you can build on Avail. If you're an RWA project, you can build on Avail. If you are a social or a DeFi app, you can build on Avail. You can build a tokenization platform on Avail. You can build whatever you want, you can build on Avail, right? So from that perspective, we are quite fortunate to be able to support all these journeys. But even if you are building on a niche, make sure that you follow it through. Like, if you are so convinced that this niche is going to come up, it is worth fighting for it. Like, for example, if you asked someone about privacy 2 years back, people would have said, like, don't touch it. I know founders, I know, I had also put in a little bit of money into projects which were privacy focused, and they shut off because the overall temperament and the situation, the both the regulatory and the user facing requirements were not privacy focused. But there were people who built through it, right? And now you see that privacy is slowly picking up pace. People are realizing it. There is hopefully some landmark judgment coming through in a matter of few days, and we are going to see more and more regulatory clarity around all of that, right? So all of this means that if you are convinced about something and you see like people are going to sooner or later come to realize the problem, then you should keep building on it, and you will be recognized. On a long enough time horizon, you will be recognized.
Makes sense. Thanks again, Praval, for deep diving, and particularly having that set of mindset. When you approach these bigger things, and for every startup journey, right? Like now, or probably in the mid or the later, I think there comes this point where they have to take some ambitious calls or decisions, or to work with which team members or partners or something. And I think if this general frameworks and having this larger vision, if it is there, then I think it surely helps down that path. Um, so Prabal, coming, I think we are almost at the end of it, but I would like to have like two set of questions. How is the Avail's outlook looks like in the rest of 2025, or early next year? And a sub part of that question is, what couple of ideas do you think are worth solving? So for any founders who are listening in early, what are those couple of ideas that you feel can be pretty well if they go and chase along?
First one is easy, second one is hard. The first one, I think we are truly seeing the emergence of TradFi coming into Web3 and tapping into this particular field. The regulatory clarity and all the regulatory changes and plethora of investment means that the floodgates have already opened or about to open, depending on what you mean by it, right? So That means that throughout this year and next year, we are going to see more and more of utility being catered to the TradFi space by the blockchain space, right? And that is why we are so bullish. We think that we need to create, like, it, the time is over for experimentation just for the sake of it. It's real people are coming in with real money and real users and real use cases. It's time for blockchains to stand up, be mature, show the world that we are ready. Like, we have been saying we are early for 10 years, 15 years now. I think it's Ethereum's 10th year this week. So the time is up, so to say, like, we are still early, right? It's time for the entire field to stand up and show that we are ready. We are ready for the mainstream audience. We are ready to break past our internal battles and be like bigger than what our internal ambitions are, and just be a bigger force as a community, right? So that's why we are heavily bullish. At Avail, we are, as I was saying, we are making sure that when these TradFi and bigger banks and players, they come and start using Web3, they do not face the same problems as a user today. That is something that we need to solve, and we need to solve fast. So that's why we have our Nexus SDK, which is ready, which can be used today across, I think, 9 to 11 different chains on production, where as a user, you don't need to worry about which chain your assets lie in, which application you're interacting with the application is built on what particular chain, and so on and so forth. So that kind of thing that we are already working on, and I think by the end of next year, people will view blockchains differently. Till now, they were afraid to touch it, afraid to think that people are working in it. Is it a gray area? Is it a legal enough, and so on? I think me and you coming. I'm assuming you are from India, right? I think we talked. Yeah, you're from India, and in India especially, right? So these kind of regulatory uncertainties play a very big social game there, and those games are changing. The social game is changing, which means that everything else will all fall in place. So I'm very bullish there. In terms of two big ideas, I think number one, I think I will be writing a bit about it as well in the next couple of weeks or so. But we keep saying that we are building for 7 billion users, or the next billion users, or we have 1 billion, we want 1 billion users using blockchain, or how we do frame it. But actually, if, come to think of it, I think that there are going to be, every person is going to use more than one, in the 50s and hundreds of AI agents to interact with anything on chain and off chain as well. So software systems are generally going to cater to more AI agents than actual users. So the time that we used to look down upon botted actions and bots being users and such, that time is going to get over, and the infrastructure needs to be scalable enough to actually support the huge inbound of agents that we are going to see, these automated bots that we are going to see. And that's where I think our infrastructure is lacking behind. Our infrastructure is not suitable enough to work with automated actors, and if we need to essentially scale that up. When it becomes at that scale is when you need verifiable actions, because you cannot trust on, as a user, I can trust on a website. Like, for example, we are using StreamYard to record this. I trust StreamYard, so I'm okay to give it the permission to record my video and my audio feed and so on, right? But when it is about thousands of such actors coming into the space, you cannot trust on entities. You need to trust on information from these entities. which means that this information needs to be verifiable, and that's where blockchains really excel. Blockchains excel at verifiable interactions, blockchain excel at cryptographic proofs, blockchain excels at giving succinct proofs of information. And that's where the next kind of movement might come in. And all the things like who cares about whether it's zk proven, or who cares about its economic guarantee and so on, those kind of conversation will go out of the window, because people are going to start caring about it. That's one thread of ideas to think about. The second is, I feel like, the best founders always anticipate the next wave. They don't build on the last wave or the current wave. The best ones anticipate the next one, start building today, create a narrative around it, make it the movement. And that's how they go and become the pioneers of their field. So if I knew what was the next wave, I would have been someone else, but I really don't. But I think that all these interest from the traditional markets means that we need to make blockchains as primitives. Till now, we have made blockchains as products. Blockchains as products, they are pretty bad. They are pretty bad because they make you feel you're using a blockchain. Every time you want to interact with one, you need a wallet. You need to have a certain mental bandwidth and some context, and to know where you can get rugged, and think in a particular adversarial style and such, which you do not think when you open your bank accounts. Like you know that if I forget my password, I'm going to recover it. So and that's the normal course of action, right? So those kind of things are happening in blockchains, and that is going to come up more and more. The next wave is going to be about using blockchains as primitives. They are going to use blockchain as if they are Stripe endpoints and APIs. So whoever can package it, wrap it in the best manner possible, and serve it on a platter for traditional enterprises, they are going to become much, much more valuable. So think of yourself as the aggregators of information, the gateways of blockchain information. I think those are going to be very, very valuable businesses in the coming days. But that's just my guess. Don't take my guess as advice.
Obviously, not a financial advice. Not, but yeah. Thanks, Prabal. I think it was amazing to hear from you on all the aspects, and I'm pretty sure we'll have like a lot of curious minds who would be interested in following or preaching out on the paths that you have said, and also really excited to see Avail's amazing set of features and a new set of activities getting launched. I think your team always inspires a lot of these guys to look ahead and really go bold. So we're all looking forward, and best wishes to you. Yeah, on that.
Thanks a lot, Pratik. Thanks everyone for supporting Avail in its journey. I think we have just crossed the 1 year mark last week, and to everyone who supported us throughout the journey, thanks a lot.